Russia has issued a direct and public warning to the United States after a series of U.S. military operations near the Venezuelan coast. The Kremlin now says it offers complete support to Venezuela, diplomatically, militarily, and strategically. But behind the statements, something much bigger is taking shape. New naval deployments, joint exercises, and the possibility, confirmed by President Trump himself, that American operations may soon expand to land. Moscow's response came almost instantly. The Russian Foreign Ministry issued a statement condemning what it described as unlawful actions near the sovereign territory of Venezuela. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held a direct call with his Venezuelan counterpart, confirming that Russia offers full political and strategic support to Caracas. So, what does support actually mean? According to defense analysts, Moscow's assistance could take several different forms, most of them subtle but strategically powerful. The first and most visible form of Russian support could be a stronger naval presence in the Caribbean. Analysts say Moscow may send a small group of destroyers, frigates, or support vessels to make port visits in Venezuela or nearby friendly nations. Even a limited deployment, just a few ships, would immediately shift the atmosphere in the region, reminding everyone that Russia is willing to project power far from home. Russia could send logistics and maintenance ships, maritime patrol aircraft like the Tu-142, or even air defense systems, already present in Venezuela. Satellite data and a joint radar sharing could also enhance Caracas' ability to track U.S. operations in the region. In practical terms, that means Venezuelan bases could soon see more joint drills, surveillance flights, and port activities involving Russian personnel, all under the label of defensive cooperation. President Trump's comments about expanding operations to land have sparked intense debate among strategists. What exactly would that look like? These operations could involve amphibious landings, where Marines deploy from ships onto coastal zones, testing rapid response capabilities and coordination between sea and air units. At the same time, the U.S. could conduct air operations using stealth and surveillance aircraft to monitor activity, establish temporary operational control, or carry out precise missions if deemed necessary. A more advanced scenario might see the establishment of temporary forward bases inside Venezuela, or along key logistical points capable of supporting aircraft, reconnaissance units, and rapid response teams. Such bases would increase operational reach, allowing the U.S. to project power inland, while maintaining flexibility to respond to unfolding events. Even without entering Venezuelan territory, the very presence of these forces so close to the mainland sends a powerful message, one that Moscow has clearly noticed. Recent weeks have seen a notable increase in American naval and air activity near Puerto Rico and along the southeastern Caribbean corridor. Satellite imagery and defense observers confirm the presence of several guided missile destroyers, including the Stockdale, operating in those waters as part of what Washington calls enhanced regional security patrols. These warships bring advanced radar and long-range precision capabilities, and their presence alone signals that the U.S. Navy is positioning itself to respond rapidly to any development near Venezuelan waters. Alongside the destroyers, the U.S. has also positioned amphibious assault and transport ships carrying elements of the Marine Corps' 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. These forces have been conducting amphibious drills and rapid deployment exercises off the coast of Puerto Rico, practicing ship-to-shore movements, helicopter insertions, and coordination between sea and air assets. Meanwhile, the skies above the Caribbean have become busier as well. The U.S. Air Force and Marine Corps have deployed stealth fighter aircraft, including F-35s, to bases in Puerto Rico. Their mission profile: aerial patrol, surveillance, and joint training with Navy units. The deployment has drawn considerable attention, as it demonstrates how quickly the U.S. can project air power within its own hemisphere. Analysts say this combination, destroyers at sea, Marines conducting amphibious operations, and stealth aircraft overhead, represents the most significant U.S. military posture in the Caribbean in years. In other words, The infrastructure is already in place. If the order ever comes, the United States could move from maritime presence to limited onshore operations almost immediately. For now, Washington insists that these deployments are purely defensive. But in an environment this tense, perception matters more than intent, and every ship, every aircraft, every exercise adds another layer to a growing regional standoff. The Caribbean is becoming a chessboard where every move matters. On one side, the United States, with unmatched naval capacity, modern surveillance, and regional alliances. On the other, Russia, using strategic diplomacy, military cooperation, and symbolic power projection to show it still has reach far from its own borders. For Venezuela, this support is vital. It reinforces the image of standing firm against outside pressure while strengthening ties with Moscow, and, increasingly, Beijing. For Russia, the Caribbean presence is more than symbolic. It's a way to remind the world that U.S. actions abroad will always face a counterbalance. Analysts point out that even a small Russian naval detachment or a handful of aircraft can shift the psychological balance, forcing Washington to calculate every move more carefully. Neighboring countries are watching closely. Colombia, Trinidad and Tobago, and several Caribbean nations have expressed concern about the growing military activity in nearby waters. While none have openly sided with either power, many leaders are calling for restraint and diplomacy, fearing that an accident or miscommunication could trigger a crisis. International observers compare the situation to a slow-motion standoff, where neither side wants direct confrontation, but both want to show strength. Every exercise, every naval deployment, every speech now carries geopolitical weight. Could this turn into something larger? Experts say a direct confrontation remains unlikely, but the risk of incidents is real. A naval encounter, a misinterpreted radar lock, or even a drone entering disputed airspace could spark a chain reaction. In that environment, every move must be calibrated, every signal measured. If the United States proceeds with land-based operations, even training ones, and Russia responds with new deployments, the Caribbean could quickly become one of the most militarized regions in the Western Hemisphere since the early 1960s. If you found this analysis useful, don't forget to subscribe and stay with us. The next few weeks could reshape the geopolitics of the entire Western Hemisphere, because sometimes history doesn't repeat itself, it echoes.